After Iowa, Florida just hours ago has joined the list of states banning the teaching of critical race theory in schools. According to WJXT of Jacksonville, in today's state board meeting, a last-minute amendment was added to the original proposal. It spells out critical race theory as well as the 1619 Project as examples of theories that distort historical events and are inconsistent with the state board mandates. Many attendees showed their support in protest after a member of the Northside Coalition of Jacksonville called on the board to, quote, allow the teachers to teach the truth. Allow teachers to teach the truth. Allow teachers to teach the truth. The protest fell on the deaf ears as the board voted to approve the new amendment banning the theory from Florida classrooms. Joining me now is CJ Pearson. He is the campaign manager for Georgia gubernatorial candidate Vernon Jones. He also runs a nonprofit, and he is a very prominent young conservative. CJ, good to see you. Welcome to Black News Tonight.
Thanks so much for having me, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I want to make sure that I have understood your position clearly. I don't want to presume that yours is the exact same as anyone else's. Do you oppose the teaching of critical race theory and the 1619 Project in schools?
I oppose the teaching of Black victimization, period. I think that the color of our skin should not dictate our future. It doesn't determine our future. I think that Black people deserve a lot more credit than that. I also believe that teaching our children to hate other people because of the color of their skin or to blame their situation on someone of another race is also wrong. It's a step backwards, not a step forward. People describe critical race theory as progressive, but it's anything but. As we seek to relitigate the past, all we're doing is rehashing old wounds, and they aren't affecting, the future of these young people. Young Black kids do not need to be told that because of the color of their skin, they won't be able to overcome the circumstances they find themselves in. That's not going to uplift our community. That's not going to push our people forward. All it's going to do is just, again, push us further towards victimization and not towards anywhere towards empowerment.
Okay, so just for clarity's sake, because I'm not sure you answered the question, do you specifically oppose the teaching of critical race theory and the 1619 Project in schools?
Yeah, I do. And the reason I oppose it is, cool. Because I oppose Black victimization.
I got your reason. Fair. Okay. One of the things that you said, second question, have you read the 1619 Project?
I am familiar with the work of the New York Times there with that project. Here's the deal. We can talk about all the reasons.
No. CJ, 1 second though. CJ, 1 second though. I just want to make sure so that we can have a full conversation. I just want to make sure for clarity's sake, I know you're familiar with it, but have you actually read it?
I'm familiar with her work, yes.
But have you read the 1619 Project in particular?
I'm familiar with her work. We're talking about critical race theory. I don't think all of critical race theory is completely dependent upon the New York Times' reporting of the 1619 Project, unless it is.
No, that's fair. That's fair, and that's fair. The reason I was asking is because this particular bill in Florida, though, was specifically named both critical race theory and the 1619 Project. So I was asking if you'd read it since you oppose it. But I understand you're saying you're familiar with her work. Even if you haven't read the specific 1619 Project in its entirety, you're saying you're familiar with Nikole Hannah-Jones's work. I would wager to say that it might be helpful to read it in its entirety before taking that position, but the a priori approach is also doable. Let me move to another piece of this. You said that teaching that we should hate people, you said two things. One, you said that the idea of teaching people that because of the color of their skin, they won't be able to succeed in America, or that the color of their skin is a reasonable explanation for their failure to succeed. The critical race theory movement, the critical race theory research, critical race theory writing, do you believe that it argues that?
Yeah, it's quite clear. People on the left have managed to somehow conflate Black history with critical race theory. It's not that. No one on the right is making the argument that you shouldn't be teaching students, young people, about Black history. People are saying that you shouldn't teach young people that racism is acceptable if it's directed towards white people. That's what's wrong here. It's teaching young people that we're not in control of our own destiny, young people of color to be specific, that we're not in control of our own destiny, and that is wrong. Today, you look at the words of Martin Luther King Jr., judge not someone by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. Critical race theory is absolutely opposed to that logic, opposed to that teaching, and that's why we're against it. It's not because we're trying to take Black history out of our schools. We're trying to take racism out of our schools, which is unfortunately what critical race theory has morphed itself into.
Do you think that schools would be better off if they followed the example in the words of Martin Luther King rather than critical race theory?
Yeah, I think that they would exactly be better off if they did that. Again, teaching young people, look at your neighbor.
That's fair. No, that's fair. But well, let me ask a follow up to let me ask a follow up. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. There's a time delay. My question is, Martin Luther King, before he died, said that he was apt to believe that most white Americans were unconscious racists. Do you agree with that part of Martin Luther King's teaching, and do you think that that should be taught in school? Because that seems to be in line with critical race theory.
Well, I think what also Martin Luther King implored people to do, again, to go back to what I was saying.
No, can you answer that specific question? Can you answer that specific question, though? Can you answer that specific question? Because if you're saying we should follow King's example, and King argued that most whites were subconscious racists, I'm asking you to answer that specific question. Do you agree with that piece of Martin Luther King's teaching, and do you agree that that should be taught in school?
Well, Mark, if you let me answer the question, I gladly will. Here's again, the deal is we can parse Martin Luther King's words all day long. The fact of the matter is that any type of racism is unacceptable, whether it's directed at black people, white people, Asian people, yellow people, green people. It is wrong. It has no place in our schools and certainly has no place in being taxpayer funded.
Okay, just to be clear, you didn't answer the question about Martin King, but I won't badge you on it. I'll move on to another question. But my question was if you agree with Martin Luther King on that issue, and you have not answered it. But I'll move on to another question here. You said that critical race theory teaches to hate white people. You said that critical race theory teaches that black people won't succeed, or that their race is the reason why they don't succeed in America. What critical race theorist argues that? Can you name one, just one, out of the hundreds of people who've written in critical race theory? Can you name one who says that?
We're talking about the body of work here, Mark. I understand your tactic. You ask specific
name one.
questions.
No, I'm asking you to name one.
Mark,
I'm asking you to name just one.
Let me talk, Mark. I understand your tactic. You ask these specific questions to flex your PhD degree. I get it. That's cool. But also, too, let's talk about the total body of work. It's not limited to one particular scholar. We're talking about the body of work. The body of work that teaches that black people are disadvantaged because of the color of their skin. The body of work that teaches that all white people, as you said, are apparently unconscious racists. The body of work that tells young black folks in this state, in this country, that we are nothing more than our circumstances. That is not how we propel our people. That is not how we push forward. That is not how we become the independent black people, black community that I know you want us to be, Mark, deep down. That's not how we move our people forward.
Right.
At all.
So just to be clear, the unconscious racist thing was Martin King, not critical race theory. I only brought Martin Luther King because you said we should follow his example. The second thing is, I'm not trying to force you into understanding one. Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. No, I wasn't justifying anything. I was asking, when you said we should follow Dr. King's words, I was asking if you meant all words, some of the words, or just the ones that supported your argument. But let me move on to what I was actually saying. I wasn't asking you to name a specific critical race theorist to prove a point, other than that I have yet to find any evidence of what you're saying. And you're saying that you're talking about the entire body of work. So I'm saying, you've clearly, let me not be presumptuous. You have actually read primary critical race theory, right? You've actually read the sources. You're not just reading like what other people said about it. You've read critical race theory and found this for yourself. That's a fairly easy yes or no question.
Yeah, I've taken classes in critical race theory at the University of Alabama. I've spoken on panels within classes that use critical race theory.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. So in the classes you took, you read this. Who did you read? Can you name one person that you read that said that people are the sum of their racial circumstances, or that black people can't succeed purely because of their race, or to hate white people because of their race? And all the readings you've done, all the panels you've been on, all the stuff you said you've done, can you name one reading, one title, one author, one paragraph, can you name anything to substantiate the point you're making?
Yeah. Here's the deal. Mark.
Name one.
We're talking a body of work.
Unless here's the deal is the name of the person. I'm asking you to name something. Somebody. Give me something, brother. I'm just saying, Mark, you're saying that the whole body of work says this, and you can't name one.
Mark, there is no state banning specific scholars from being taught in our schools. We're banning bodies of work that preach hate and preach racism. We can get into semantics, right, parse details all night long.
It's not semantic. It's not semantic. It's not semantic. You're saying it's the body of work.
No state is doing what you're saying. Let's talk about the issue. The issue is critical theory. We're not talking about...
I'll move on. Okay, I will move on. You just said that no specific people are being named. In Florida, today, the 1619 project was specifically named. Are you disagreeing that that's what the Florida legislation says, or are you saying you weren't aware that this just happened?
I'm saying that no state is
Did you say
going
not
after
specific person?
$6. The 1619 project
The
was a New York
1619
Times
project is
project,
Nicole Hannah Jones.
was led by that particular author, but it wasn't just her.
So okay, so you're saying it's not going by anybody by name; it's going by the entire body of work, right? And I'm saying, and we can go to commercial. You know what? You can come back. We can finish the conversation after the commercial. But again, just to be clear, I've asked you to name one piece in that body of work that you've said you've substantively read, and I've gotten nothing from you in terms of a name. But I'm going to go to commercial. We're going to come back, and I want you to explain to me your views on whether systemic racism exists. So let's move on to the next thing here. You say critical race theory. I would stipulate, I would agree, I would concede, if you will, stipulates that racism is an intractable problem in America, and that racism is a foundation of America, of American institutions, of American society, and certainly of American law. Would you agree with that premise?
No. You know, I think this entire obsession with racism that people on the left have is the most counterproductive thing that's ever inflicted the Black community. You know, how are we going to progress as a community if we're not focused on absolutely uplifting ourselves, but instead we're looking backwards and focus on the things that are supposedly holding us back and holding us down? I just disagree with that. I think that our community is going to be propelled by people who look at the circumstances that they find themselves in and say that these aren't going to hold me back. That's how we lead our people forward. That's how we set our people free, not by teaching and obsessing over the everyday racism that we're going to run into. The question really is, do you let it control you or do you overcome it? And I'm choosing to be an overcomer.
Okay. So you've said a few provocative things there. So do you think that all communities should not look backwards and worry about the oppression of their history, and they should just only look forward, or just Black people?
I'm saying that we should be present thinking people, forward looking people, and that's how we move forward as a community. We can't change what happened in the past.
Okay.
There's something to learn from it, yeah, but we should be looking forward.
So should we not remember slavery? Should we not commemorate slavery? Should we not talk about oppression in the past as we move forward? Can we do that? Can we do both and like look at the past and move forward, or should we simply move forward?
Again, as I said, there are lessons to be learned from the past. I think the difference between where we're coming from is whether or not you should dwell on it or not. I was never a slave. You were never a slave. Your parents weren't even slaves, Mark, and you're a little bit older than me. The fact of the matter really is that we have to decide whether or not we're going to let our history constrain us or we're going to free ourselves.
Okay, so
what's that song by Tasha Cobb? Break every chain. We got to break every chain, Mark. We got to break every chain.
All right, so studies show that the impact of slavery can still be felt in Black education, Black housing, Black, in terms of Black social mobility. Studies show that Black people are still being economically impacted by slavery. Studies also show that some of the most powerful institutions in America, whether it's universities, whether it's insurance companies, multinational corporations, that they're also rooted and fortified by slavery. So the experts say that slavery still impacts today. Do you disagree with those experts, or do you think that we should ignore those realities?
You know, I think at the end of the day, we do have to grapple with the history of America. And I think that there are definitely ways to go about that and ways that empower our community instead of hobble it. You look at what President Trump did when he was president of the United States as far as implementing economic opportunity zones, which funneled commercial funds into inner cities that had long been neglected because of disastrous liberal policies that ran them into the ground. That's how we actually beat back what you describe as systemic racism, right? It's by giving Black people opportunities to create jobs, create small businesses, and actually build something. You know, the difference between liberalism and conservatism is actually really simple. Liberalism makes being poor comfortable, makes living in poverty comfortable. Conservatism is about giving people the power to escape that kind of poverty.
So if we were to have a school curriculum that analyzed history but said let's move forward, let's talk about the past, but let's also change public policy, let's change the law, let's reimagine our own position in the world, let's tell our stories, but let's also advance. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not opposed for learning what true history is, but I think again, like we should also be teaching young people that we're in control of our destinies and control of our future. And I think that critical race theory runs the risk of telling young black kids who sit in the classroom that regardless of how hard they try, how hard they work, they will never ever be able to succeed just as much as their white counterpart. And how demoralizing is that, Mark? Like, just to hear someone say that because of the color of your skin, you can't be the person that you want to be. That's not what we should be teaching our young people.
Yeah, I agree that that's demoralizing. Where we disagree is that I've never found any place in critical race theory that says that. But I'm glad. I think where we reach consensus is where I said, would you agree with the curriculum that would speak to history, understand the roots of racism, but allow us to move forward, to shift policy, to shift law, and to recognize individual agency against the backdrop of all that stuff. I think you're right. I think we can reach a consensus there. The great thing about that consensus, though, CJ, is that everything I just mentioned are the key foundational principles of critical race theory. So I think you might actually be a closeted, undercover, secret critical race theory. No, it is if you read it. It is if you read it. But I'm going to give you one more chance. Just one more chance. Hold on. Let me pause you one more thing because we got to go. But I want to ask you one question, and you can feel free to punt. You can feel free to log off. You can feel free to say pass. You can phone a friend, maybe call Vernon. I don't know. But I'm going to ask you, can you name one critical race theory article or book? Just one. You don't have to describe it. You don't have to summarize it. Can you just name one? Just one.
Isn't the 1619 Project critical race theory?
No, it's not actually. It's absolutely not.
But you
so
cited
I'll give you another chance.
You cited it as one. You
cited
it as one.
Hold on, pause. What I said was that the Florida legislature mentioned both critical race theory. No, let me. No. When you rewind this video, you'll see that that's not the case. What I actually said was that 1619 Project and critical race theory were things named by the legislature. Critical race theory does not include the 1619 Project. So let's take that off the table. I'm going to give you another pass.
But then you
name one.
No,
hold on. No.
Mark, come on.
This is a simple question. If you don't want to answer it, it's fine. I'm being fair. Can you name? You said you've taken. Okay, let me restate the question. Since you've read critical race theory, since you've taken it, since you feel like you have enough understanding of it to say you don't want it in schools, let's take the 1619 Project off the table since you and I don't seem to agree, although it's clearly not critical race theory, right? Can you name one critical race theory article, text, or author? Can you just name one that exists? I'm not asking you to describe it. I'm not asking you to define it. I'm not asking you to analyze it. Can you just name one that exists?
Okay, well, you described the author of the 1619 Project as a critical race theorist. So again, my answer is the
I did not. I did not.
You asked me if I could name a critical race theorist. I said
can you name one?
A particular scholar. I'm answering your question. You said it wasn't about a particular scholar. You said it wasn't.
You don't know.
You asked.
You can't name one.
Can I answer your question?
You can't.
Mark,
you're not answering the question. I'm saying.
Great. This is fun.
Can you name one?
A good time.
This is really fun. All right, I'm going to have to let you go, but all right. So again, since we're not agreeing on 1619 Project, which is not critical race theory, and I did not say that. And again, when you rewind the video, you'll see that. You've read the books. You've taken the class. Okay, let's say you're right. Now I'm asking you to name one. Can you name one? Since you've done the reading, since you know this enough to want to ban it, can you just name one author, one book, one article, one abstract? Can you just name one for me?
Well, Mark, if we're saying I'm right, then I'm going to say the 1619 Project one more time. The answer won't change.
Okay, that's fine. So if the only critical race theory project or that you can name is the 1619 Project, which is not one, right? Then I would submit that perhaps it might be worthwhile to actually read the literature in critical race theory. And I know you took a class on it, but can't remember the names. I know you've been on panels, but don't remember the people you were on the panels with these critical race theories. But I would strongly suggest just reading one. Read Kimberly Crenshaw. Read Derek Bell. Read Solorzano. Read Delgado. Read Guinier. There's so much to read out there. And I'm just saying that you might have a different opinion on critical race theory, my brother, if you read it. At least, and read it well enough to remember their names. Or if you read the book well enough to remember the title. Is that a fair assessment? I'll give you the last word.
Again, we can do this entire intellectual thing that, it's back and forth. But at the end of the day, listen, this is about whether or not we're going to be teaching our kids taxpayer funded hate or not. That's what this is about. And that's what we're against. That's what we're fighting against. And we're going to take this fight state after state. We're going to teach young black kids in this country that they are in control of their destiny, not the color of their skin. And they won't be held back just because of some racist boogeyman who's set out to keep them down. That's not what I'm teaching. That's not what I'm going to teach my kid. And Mark, I hope that you won't teach your kid that either.
No, no. I'm going to teach them to read the books, analyze the books, analyze the policy, and make determinations based not on these abstract fears of critical race boogeymen, but of actual, real issues and problems that we face. I'm going to give you the last 10 seconds. Can you name a critical race theorist now? I gave you 5 of them. It rhymes with Frimberly Crenshaw. Come on, give me one.
Kimberly Crenshaw. There you go, Mark.
There we go. CJ for the win.